Hello and welcome to another episode of TNA Top 10. I'm losing count. I don't even know what the number is. Andrew, how you doing, bud?
Está 28, número 28. That's 28 for those of you playing along in Spanish. I am fabulous, Terry. Hangover free. Here's why your boy celebrated 6 years of sobriety last week, the 14th of March, 3 days before St. Patty's Day, where all my people with the red beards and the white faces get hammered. Because that's the way we do things. A couple of things about St. Patrick's Day, Terry, because I know you asked, and I love to tell our listeners things that you asked me about. Number one, you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning. That's a rule for St. Patrick's Day. Number two, God invented whiskey to keep the Irish from ruling the world. You're welcome, because they absolutely needed it. Number three, best St. Patrick's Day ever I celebrated in 2010. I was a graduate student at the University of Nebraska, had a little local pub. They opened at 5 o'clock in the morning for St. Patty's Day and closed at 1 a.m. So they had the corned beef and cabbage gimmicks, the green beers. At some point, there was Lucky Charms eaten with stout beer, which, by the way, is disgusting, drunk or sober. I love that face you're making. Um,
Maybe we
so
need to
it,
do a top 10 cereals in beer list.
yeah, Lucky Charms won't hit, I promise.
I've only had
Um,
cornflakes in beer. I'm not going into any detail.
Oh,
Continue.
we're going to hear that story at some point. Our producer's going to make a note on that for sure. But the deal with this day, it was over spring break because the university's not dumb. They're like, these people going to get hammered. So we started drinking. Me and my buddy that was in graduate school with me started drinking 5 o'clock in the morning. I swear to God, I'm not lying. We opened the bar and we closed the bar. And starting at 6 o'clock, we decided, we being me, that we would have an Irish car bomb every hour up to close. Now, for those of you playing along at home, an Irish car bomb is, in this case, Jameson, a shot of it, dropped into a 16-ounce glass of Guinness. Okay. So I thought I was a member of the IRA, those Irish Republican Army, because, I'm dating myself here. But anyway, I thought I was a member of the IRA, and I drank one of those every hour until 12 o'clock. And along with that, I was drinking my other beers. I became a real fan of stout beer that night, or of dark beer, because Guinness and
Exactly.
Jameson is very good after you have several of them in, 15-second intervals, because it's a chug thing. But we get to the 12 o'clock hour. My bright ass said, um,
Bright ass.
my bright ass, yeah, bright as a light bulb here, homie, said, you know what we should do? I think we should have one every 15 minutes to close the
Oh,
night
of
out.
course. That makes it four times as good.
Buddy, the next day, my liver was in pain. It was genuine pain from the liver. The check liver light came on. $490 bar tab for myself in 2010. Never had, and this is a local craft beer brewery in Nebraska, had never run a bar tab that high. Um, I couldn't function for about 3 hours. And you know what did the trick?
What?
More liquor, more beer. And then we were fine. You just hit the restart button. But like I said, you can't drink all day, you don't start in the morning. I
That's
am
right.
a former professional, retired, undefeated at the beer pong table, a game with no losers. Some of you will get that joke in 20 minutes. But anyway, Terry, do your people do anything fun for St. Patrick's Day? Or, the government not allow that down there in Rocket City
My
and whatnot?
people.
Yes, I'm Scotch Irish. Look at this. Look at this.
You
There is
said
no
red
denying it.
beard and white face. I'm more white beard and red face, I think.
Well, that's because you're old and the liquor's kicking in.
Well, I am. I was going to say that I'm celebrating your sobriety with two hefty bourbon drinks, and I've
Yeah,
downed
have
them
another one
already.
for me.
I say having, I already had.
Correct. That's a past tense because he has to get primed for this show with me involved.
Yeah. I got to let go of my feelings.
Yeah, because he never knows what I'm going to say.
Right.
And TNA Top 10 used to be a football podcast, and we are currently a variety show.
We'll get back
And
there.
no, it's fine. We're going to talk a lot of football in the off season. We're going to talk football today. I don't know if you saw, I put it on the list. You love when I do that, sneak it in at the last minute, not tell anybody. But we're going to
Always.
open today's show, Terry, with grocery store culture, as I like to call it. The
I got
grocery
plenty to say
store,
about this.
I don't know if I said this last week on the show or not, but if I did, everybody gets to hear me say it again. The grocery store has become my nemesis. My arch nemesis is now the grocery store. I spend all my disposable income here at the grocery store, and it annoys me. And inconveniences at the grocery store annoy me. Talking about people stocking shelves in the middle of the day, cannot stand it. Move your pallet out of my way. I got to go. Um, Slow walkers, SLOW walkers, get the fuck out of my way. I'm coming through. I am here for 5 items. I got to spend my obligatory $50 on said 5 items, and I don't want to spend any more time here than possible. So now I am a self checkout guy because I do it better myself anyway. Fuck them Walmart workers wearing
Yep.
the blue vests. I mean, really. And you
Do you
can't find
yell?
one
Wait
when
a
you need
minute.
help
Hold
anyway.
on. Question.
What?
First question.
Yeah.
I do self checkout too. Do you yell at the stupid computer when it tells you that you're going too fast and it's like, you need to scan all items before putting them in
The
the
one that
bag?
gets me is put item in the bagging area. Motherfucker, I just scanned it and sent it to
Exactly.
the don't talk to me. You're a computer. So I do self checkout. Target has decided that they're only going to allow 10 items self checkout, Terry. I bring a whole fucking grocery cart to the self checkout and I get it done faster than the people do with the conveyor belt gimmick, okay?
Nothing
Why are you
screams
going to
money
limit
like
me?
doing your grocery shopping at Target.
Correct. And I don't grocery shop at Target. It's well established that I hate the Walton family. Okay. Sam Walton, dead in his grave. Can't stand him or his 4 billionaire children or trillionaire children, whatever they are. They're richer than if they combine their wealth, the Walmart brand has more money than the country of Saudi Arabia. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot of damn money. Anywho, uh, yeah, what do you think, buddy? We don't get to choose paper or plastic. You don't have workers. Prices suck. Don't go to a grocery store expecting to save money. And I don't give a shit if you got that 3 ring binder full of coupons or not. We ain't getting it done today. We ain't getting it done these days at all. So absolutely hate the grocery store. It's my nemesis. And then I saw that Target had decided 10 items or less in the self checkout lane. Otherwise, you got to go wait in line with everybody else.
I don't know that I ever have more than 10 items at Target,
Oh,
but
I certainly wouldn't at Target, but at Walmart,
yeah,
buddy, I got that cart full. At Sam's Club, I'm scanning as I
yeah.
go. This little phone y'all make fun of me for always having, I'm scanning my shit as I'm throwing it in the buggy there at the Sam's Club because I've got the scan and go app. I got my card attached to it. I scan, slide, bam, we're out the door.
Well,
I
speaking of
like
buggies, I mean, you mentioned
efficiency.
buggies here. That's one thing I got to give a thumbs up to Target on. Pushing a buggy at Target is like being in the clouds. You go over to the
They
Kroger, it's a completely different story.
Well, the Target's got the best wheels and they're quiet. You go to Walmart,
Absolutely.
they have jammed them things so many times.
Yeah.
You got to find one where the wheel will turn so that you can actually negotiate this cart. And let's not talk about them bending them out of shape so that they don't ride correctly. I mean, oh, and talking about grocery stores and shopping carts, y'all got me on my soapbox today because I'm going to the grocery store tomorrow. It's my day off. People that leave grocery carts in the parking lot, not in the grocery stall. You lazy sons of bitches, put the grocery cart back. It's not that difficult. Do not put it next to my 22 Supra with the possibility of it getting run into by your grocery cart because you couldn't mic and patch your happy ass over to the cart corral. You are lazy, and there is a special place in hell for people who cannot put the grocery carts away or do not put them away.
One last thought before we move along because producer's really leaning on us here. I bet this is no surprise to you, but I'm that guy that grabs 6 or 8 carts in the parking lot and I organize the cart corral. I don't just put my buggy in the cart corral. The little ones need to be connected to the little ones. The big ones need to be connected to the little ones. Have some civility, people. All right, we can
And
move
that
along now.
and that's why this is TNA, because you and I agree on the important things. Shopping cart decorum in the parking lot is one of them. I'm with you. Put the shopping carts back and put them by size the way they belong. I love it, Terry.
Let's move along, Andrew. What you got next?
Is it me or is it you? We're talking about inflation since we
Well,
talked
hey,
about
you
grocery
typed the stuff
shopping.
in the notes, buddy. You're going to talk about it. I'll
Listen,
throw in something when I feel like it.
3.2% is not terrible inflation, but we're 3.2% month over year left from last year. Target from the government's 2%. Yeah, fucking right. Because we're artificial with those numbers, because you can manipulate anything with numbers. Numbers don't lie if the input is honest. You know, the old saying, numbers don't lie. Numbers do lie. You can manipulate a number to tell whatever story it is that you want. Currently, 3.2% is the inflation rate, ninth consecutive month above 3%. The biggest things driving inflation right now: the shelter you live in, because houses are not going down.
They're
Um,
ridiculous.
insurance, car insurance, house
Oh,
insurance,
that's ridiculous too.
absolutely crazy. Natural gas and electric bills, supposedly, and I would have to fact check it, natural gas bills in some places highest on record, because we've got the whole deal with the Ukraine and the oil and the natural gas supply is short. So that means your prices go up, et cetera, et cetera. Makes it very difficult for people to heat their homes in the winter. If you live where our producer lives, you have winter. Here in North Carolina, we had 3 weekends where it got below 40 degrees. Not really a winter to speak of. If you live in Connecticut, you're going to go ahead and get wintertime. So,
I saw it coming.
and ladies and gentlemen, for those of you wondering, that is our producer telling
We
me I
gave her
think
too much power.
I'm rambling. She has all the power, all the power. But anyway, inflation is through the roof, and we can't really. I think one of the reasons she did that to me is she does live in Connecticut. You and I, Terry, live in Alabama and North Carolina, respectively. We probably can't bitch too much about prices. If we were to live in Connecticut, it'd be a completely different story. You know what I'm saying? Because cost of
Yeah, I don't
living in Connecticut far more than it is in Eastern North Carolina, where I live. I promise you.
for sure. I mean, you mentioned the power bill. Power bill is one thing that I can't complain too much on. It's not too bad for me. Um, but man, looking for a house a couple of years ago was just, it was competition. It's like once you
Yep.
found a house, once you call about it, somebody had it already. You find another
And
house and you just got to go higher. You got to pay more. You got to go get a bigger house and pay more. And that's what I had to do to get away from the small people that couldn't afford the house that I could afford. I'll just throw it
well,
out
I love the fact that you just did a humble brag on your job there. But in all seriousness, the house list for 250. If you didn't offer 300,000, you weren't getting the house. I mean, legitimately, you had to offer over the asking price of the house, and typically that means you're offering over the value of the house,
there.
because no one's going to sell their house for a 50% discount or something. Are you crazy? It's the biggest asset people own in this country, is the house and the land it's attached to. And not all of us own 2 or 3 houses, but I know a couple people. So there's that.
Right.
But you know, it is what it is. We got that New York Yankee money, like Giancarlo. He's got that Yankee money. What about Giancarlo getting that hit yesterday, Terry? They were yelling beer at him.
Oh, is that what I sent you about the beer, beer, beer,
Beer, beer,
beer,
beer.
beer?
Boom! Home run out of the dude. There was no doubt when he hit that home run that it was gone. I mean,
Oh,
he hit the home run, and that form. Oh God, he swiveled the hips, upper body, perfect all the way through.
I
The
wasn't watching it
angle.
that close. I
Oh
just
man, I
admit it to
watched
you.
it multiple times. Don't ask questions you
Yeah.
don't want the answer to. But speaking of sports, we're going to talk about the Yankees because they're the Yankees and that's God's team, as I remind you daily. The we're still too far away from opening day to make a big deal of it.
Don't mean
But
nothing.
you know what was a big deal because we're wrestling fans, or they made a big deal of it and maybe it fell flat. Let's talk about it. Mercedes Monet, the former Sasha Banks, the boss in
Mhm.
Boston, haha, real clever, makes her debut. And I have a couple thoughts on this, but I've done enough talking for now. It's your turn, buddy. What do you think of Mercedes Monet, AEW, the way they handled it? Talk to me about it.
Well, to be honest, I have not watched the segment other than just a real short clip. Um, I did talk about this recently about AEW being behind the times with the women's division, so I'm all for it. I love Sasha Banks, Mercedes Monet, whatever she wants to go by. And I think they desperately need her there because, we talked about they have two or three women that are good, but either they're out or they're not making their presence known at the moment. She's got a chance to come in and hopefully drag somebody along with her and do something big. I hope it happens.
Well, you would like to see an influx of talent would mean that the talent below them get better. You
Yeah.
know, you would think working with a better wrestler should make you a better wrestler. When you play any sport, you sing, you dance, whatever. If someone's better than you, they should make you better. That's kind of the goal. Um, I thought her opening promo was okay, fell a little flat. The problem is it wasn't really surprising either. You can't get a good surprise anymore in wrestling because of social media, be that Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Facebook. Somebody's mom reported so and so's dog was at this airport and it wasn't Phil Brooks this time, whatever. Um,
What is his dog's
so,
name?
oh, I forgot.
I got to stop you in your tracks and throw the hard hitting questions. I have no clue.
I
Does
forget
the
what his
producer
dog's name
remember
is,
CM Punk's dog's name?
but it's
Larry.
Larry. That's it. It's Larry. Very good. I knew it was a dog name, but anyway, or a human name. But um, I thought it was okay, but it was interesting. They put her at the beginning and they put her at the end of the show,
Yeah.
and then you front loaded the entire in a business that is quote dominated by ratings. That's what we care about: ratings, 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 ratings.
Yep.
You open the show with her, and you close the show in a meaningless women's match, so that she can come out and make the save. Um, and that is not meant to be disrespectful to Sky Blue and was it Sky Blue? I know
I
it
can't
was.
say anything. I got up to pee during the women's match when I was a
Yeah,
member.
but it was. Oh no, it was. Yeah, it was Statlander's partner. It was Statlander's partner,
Willow.
Willow. It was Willow Nightingale, and they did the whole jump thing on there. And then, of course, Sasha comes and makes the makes the save. But the apparently we're being booed in the chat because the thing
We
is
did not
about
give her a boo audio. She's basically saying that she would give us a big boo right now had we given her that power.
probably, and we probably deserve it. My whole thing is I think it just fell flat. They mistimed it at the end. Um, I think they should have opened with Okada. I don't think they should have opened with Mercedes. I think the logical thing is you close with Mercedes because then you get the viewers to wait to the
Yeah,
debut.
anticipation.
Um,
Yes.
but again, that's a typical tactic used by a lot of wrestling companies is wait to the very end. Okada coming after, moving on from Mercedes. Okada's coming after Eddie Kingston. Now, this is something I will get excited about. The belts are coming home with the Rainmaker Wednesday night. This is Monday when we record. Wednesday night, the Rainmaker's taking the Triple Crown home. And you can forget Eddie Kingston beating Okada in any way, shape, form, or fashion on Wednesday night because the there
See,
she
the
goes.
dynamic I did not count on here is we're sitting here watching her and we can see when she's about to click on something.
Correct. And it's going to pop us because we don't act. But the bottom line with Okada is that he's a game changer. Will Ospreay has become the biggest babyface AEW has. He might have the ability to replace Cody in that way, bruv. But Okada ultimately, you're gonna have to give him the legitimacy to this crowd. They're gonna put those titles on him. Kingston's gonna lose those championships in my mind. There's no way he doesn't. Um, and really, to me, those were the couple segments I paid attention to, because of course Okada's new and um, Mercedes Moné is new. We do know we're gonna get Osprey and Danielson at the pay-per-view. So at their pay-per-view, it's not a premium live event because they make you pay $50 for it. It is a pay-per-view in my world.
Or you could
Terry.
go to Dave and Buster's and end up spending $100
a
like
hundred
I
bucks
did.
on drinks because you felt bad for the poor waitress.
Oh, I really did. I really did.
But what about The Rock on the other channel? Arguably the most popular celebrity in the world,
I would think so. The
cutting 10 minute
combined movie
promos on
star
social
and
media, just letting it fly.
yeah, absolutely.
My favorite line, and I used this the other day. Off. It's the direction that you can fuck. I really, really enjoyed that came out of The Rock's mouth. Is that off is the direction you can fuck. No, he's been
Obviously,
really
we've given some tools to the producer this week, and she's making use of.
letter. This show's gonna be better with her at it. They always said behind a good man's a good woman. I never claimed to be a good man, but I know we've got a better woman behind me than me.
Yeah,
But we're talking. I mean, you're talking about The Rock. You're talking about the Build to Mania. It's going to be in Philly. Maybe this is the reason he's such a shit ass in this particular presentation. He's very good at Hollywood Rock. Came out, he sang to Cody's mama. He did the Moana tribute.
yeah, definitely.
I mean, it was great. But maybe the reason he is so good at being such a shithead is he has to be because he knows what happens if you fuck up and you're in Philadelphia. They will eat him alive, and they
They
don't
booed
care.
Santa Claus.
They don't care he's Dwayne the Rock Johnson. If you remember, sir, they booed Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Royal Rumble 15. Roman wins. Out comes The Rock to save the show because they're booing him. The Rock got booed louder because all the fans saw through it and saw exactly what they were trying to do. That was the year they decided to put it on Seth instead of giving it to Roman, and Roman had to wait another year for his Mania moment. But the build is great. We got Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Logan Paul for a triple threat match for the United States Championship at Mania. Barn burner. AJ Styles, LA Knight, barn burner. Got some goofy ass 8-way or 6-way tag team ladder match. Whatever. I mean, I
Yeah.
could go without the car crash.
I saw something on Twitter the other day. Somebody was claiming that AEW's roster is stacked. And I was sitting here thinking, I just don't get that. It's got to be some huge AEW marks throwing
They have
that
to be
out
because
there.
they're talking about the greatest roster ever, is what they called it. And this is a debate for next week. Let's make this one of our topics. AEW 2023-24
Hmm.
versus WWE 2001, 2, or 3. Your pick. I don't care. And if you pick 2002, y'all dead. Off the top of my head, Rock, Austin, Triple H, Undertaker, Kane, Hardys, Dudleys, um, Edge and Christian, Chris Jericho. Do we need to continue?
No, not at
I
all.
mean, and you're
Dominated
gonna
already.
say AEW has a better roster or the best roster assembled. Get the fuck out of here. Darby
Exactly.
Allin broke his foot doing a spot the week before he was supposed to go climb Mount Everest in the match with Jay White, which my boys, by the way, back where they belong, on the good side of things, Jay White turned on him. You saw that coming. So easy. So easy booking there. That was the thing I pay attention to, but not everybody loves the Acclaimed. Bunch of haters. Um,
Wait a
but it
minute.
is
I
what
thought
it is.
everybody loved the Acclaim. What are you talking about?
Well, everybody loves the Acclaimed, and
I think it's time to move on, according to the producer. Maybe we
I
need to
got a
talk about
picture to prove
football
it.
for a few minutes there, bud.
Football, and it's
Tell
your
me what
man,
Nick
my man.
Saban did.
testified
I know
before
you know.
Ted Cruz roundtable held in Washington, talking about the NIL, the concerns of people. Are we going to pay him to play? And that's ultimately what it is. He said, Miss Terry even said, what are we doing? You know, he told the story again where Terry was talking about breakfast and all this. And she says, what are we doing? The only thing they care about is how much they're getting paid and how many playing minutes they're going to get. We're not developing young men anymore, as they both say. 50 years worth of developing. So here's the thing about the greatest coach of all time. Number one, that's undeniable, Roll Tide. Number two, he's going to have the loudest voice in the room on this. They have given him a platform. And as we both know, it's not like there's a ton of love lost between Nick Saban and Ted Cruz. Nick Saban is the lifelong Democrat. Ted Cruz is a firebrand Republican, but they're not talking about political issues. They're talking about the NIL, and it's something they both agree on. So who knows? But yeah, he testified in a roundtable, not actually a real congressional hearing, for the lack of a better way to say it. But the concerns are valid. Money, management, participation, and Saban's argument is everybody participate. I get it, name, image, likeness, but everybody get the same amount. Because his whole thought process is, if you're Texas A&M with the war chest they have, you can build a super team and never develop an actual football program. And you and I have had that conversation on this show.
Yeah,
As
I guess
as
my
Vince would say.
expectation for response there is I didn't ever see Saban signing up to make the same amount as the Samford coach.
Nope.
So why would the expectation be that the players would be the same?
And that's the problem they have to juggle. But what he's saying is he wants uniformity and equality across the board. I think the bigger issue isn't even the dollar figures; it's how you enforce the rules. I
Oh
think
yeah,
that is
it's
really what
chaos
he's
right now for
driving at.
sure.
Um, and I mentioned Texas A&M because my man Trev Alberts, the best linebacker in 1993 in the country, gave Charlie Ward out of Florida State all he wanted in the Orange Bowl that year, and started the unfinished business campaign with the Big L. Has bounced, gone after signing an 8-year extension at the University of Nebraska. I think it was like a 60 or 50 or 60% raise he gave himself, or he was given. There's no president at the University of Nebraska, hasn't been for months. Now the AD is gone. Rule came out today. I watched his press conference, as you all saw in the group chat. HBG trying to give me shit about Matt Rule. Nope, not today, sir.
Call them
Papa
out by names,
Clutch.
huh?
Papa Clutch. You know I don't care. But Trev Alberts leaves. He goes to A&M. I haven't seen the contract figures or anything. Terry, I almost called you Randy. That was my buddy I was talking to about it earlier. I haven't seen the contract figures on this, but he was getting $2 million a day at Nebraska. A&M will spend $2 million in 30 minutes on a booze fest for old Johnny Football.
Absolutely.
So they don't care about the money down there in College Station.
And the story was when they got rid of Fisher, they needed $75 million. And then like the next week they had a check for $160 million
from the 12th man
at
organization. Yeah. But the funny thing is, there's still only going to be an 8-4 football team. Roll Tide. We'll talk about that sometime down the line.
Plenty of competition. We got some shows lining that up.
Yeah. Buddy, they suck. They are not going to buy. They can't buy 12 wins. I don't care what anybody says. The money matters, but you pay talent. We see it in the NFL, but they still have to get off their fucking ass and go play. Which you're not.
Got a basketball game coming up pretty soon. I didn't really make this connection. So we got Trev Albert leaving.
Yeah. And A&M drew Nebraska in both women's tournament and men's tournament.
Oh, I didn't know the women's also. You are kidding me.
I am dead serious.
Oh my goodness.
The women are seeded 6th and the A&M's 11, and the men are seeded 8, and A&M is seeded 9.
Weird coincidence.
They got A&M in both tournaments in the opening round. Go Big Red. By the way, we'll get there. They're taking it all, Terry. Don't start with me. I've got my Kool-Aid here, you see? Got the Kool-Aid out.
Oh, boy. No Kool-Aid for me.
But the governor of Nebraska says fix this shit because the university's without a president, a chancellor, and now an athletic director. And you're talking about one of the wealthiest programs in the country in terms of the money and the resources Nebraska has and has not spent. That's the big difference. Those assets are not allocated. And that's the biggest difference right there. You want to hit the NFL real quick? Because that's the moves I saw that I put in the note there, buddy, about Wilson and Fields. Did you see
So
this?
I did not. You might as well take the lead here. I've heard a little rumblings about this. I've been a busy man lately. I haven't been able to dive in and get prepared.
That's because the government sucks. Anyway, fuck the government, fuck the man. They're listening to us. That's the deal. Russell Wilson going to Pittsburgh. The Broncos paid $37 million for him to leave. And that means the Steelers only had to pay 1.6 to balance out the 1-year contract. So he gonna make 38 million for a year, 37 of which is paid by another team. That's just good business.
That's Bobby Bonilla right there. Yeah.
And then Fields, they got for a 6th-round pick out of Chicago. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. 6th-round pick out of Chicago. Pickett decided for Pittsburgh. He said, "No, I'm not going to play for Russell. I'm not going to sit behind Russell Wilson." So he decides he's going to Philly to sit behind Jalen Hurts.
Right.
Are you stupid?
I saw where somebody had a signed Kenny Pickett jersey in a glass case. And they're like, and he was like, "What am I going to do with this now?" And somebody commented, "Why the hell would you have that in the first place?"
And then the last one is Aaron Donald, probably the best pass rusher the game's had since Michael Strahan, a beast eating up space, taking on double and triple teams. Helped the Rams win that Super Bowl. Unfortunately, is retired. But great season, 33 years old, still has his health, can still live his life, you know. And let's face it, he got paid.
Of course.
He got paid, Terry. But that's enough football talk.
He deserved it.
Somebody told me we're playing with a round ball these days.
We are, but you know, Juwan Howard's not going to be there for it. Michigan finally fires this guy. I mean,
I like how you said finally. He went to 2 Sweet 16s and was 1 point away from it.
I mean, but 2 years ago, he punched an opposing coach on the court.
Bobby Bowden used to choke his players. Don't talk to me about what coaching is acceptable and not.
No, but the reality is that the reports are there was a culture of fear and concern for retaliation. Those are some quotes. I don't know the details of that. If you're punching opposing coaches, I would think that there might be some truth in that. Of course, we don't know at what level there's culture of fear. You know, that could mean a lot of different things. But so it'll be interesting to see what kind of stuff comes out from that.
Here's what I know. After Boeheim, is it Boeheim or Boeheim? I always get this confused.
It's Boeheim, yeah.
Boeheim at Michigan, Boeheim at Syracuse. Because they've got very similar names and they're both Jim, if I'm not mistaken. I could have that wrong. How do you replace that guy? You get one of the Fab Five. Here's the problem. The expectations are way up here, and you don't deliver. Guess what's going to happen to Michigan football? Because this is a football podcast. Jim Harbaugh finally wins the big one, goes on to the San Diego Chargers, leaves his offensive coordinator. The team leaves because the players are gone because Harbaugh's not there. He guts the coach. Whoops. I got so excited I knocked my headphones off. He guts the coaching staff, and then what happens? You're going to have a scapegoat in Michigan, and you avoided all the NCAA sanctions. So Michigan sets themselves up for this, and they can't happen to a bunch of deserving pricks anyway.
And they're probably gonna keep the guy that was the interim, right? I mean, is that what they're doing in football?
Yeah, the offensive coordinator is now the head coach, so he's your scapegoat. He was the interim coach. He is now the scapegoat for the University of Michigan football team.
You don't see this happen very often. You know, the guy that was the interim, everybody loves them. They win a couple of games or they play a hard-fought game or something, and it does not turn out very well most of the time.
And I know we were talking about basketball, and we still will, but
Oh
I
yeah, I
mean,
guess we were, weren't
Juwan Howard won the Big Ten as a coach.
we?
He
Yeah.
made it to the Sweet 16 twice. It's not only a bad record, but he went 8-16 this year. And if you've got other issues and then you lose, guess what you just did? You gave him
You
the
gave
reason.
them a
Bye
reason.
bye.
That's right.
Yep. Bye
Well,
bye.
let's talk about what happened in the conference championships. So there's some
March
big name
Madness
teams
has
that
begun,
there's
sir.
some big name teams that didn't do much. Houston, Purdue, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky was 0-1 in the SEC championship. Alabama 0-1 in the SEC championship. Some teams that
Well,
were expected to do something and they walked away with losses real quick.
I'm about to ruin my gimmick here. I prepared some of these notes, folks. I know I come on here and say I don't
Most
do
of them
anything
this
to
week,
prepare
like
for
I
a show.
said, I was a little bit busy. Oh, but
But
let me just throw this out there. It was my son's birthday today, actually. So that was the reason I was a little bit busy. But go ahead, sir.
happy birthday to Cyrus, number one. Number two, Houston, Purdue, UNC, Tennessee, top five. All of them lost. That was the point of that particular. And then we both know Alabama lost, Kentucky lost. I mean, they just kept falling, and you're like, what in the world is Illinois wins? Or no, Wisconsin beat them, didn't they? Did Wisconsin beat Illinois for the Big Ten?
Honestly, I
Because
don't know. I just paid
I
attention
didn't
to the
watch the game
SEC.
yesterday. I
Why
was
would
out.
I pay attention to anything
Yeah,
else? I don't know.
yeah,
Sure.
I was out in the yard. But my point was, your numbers 1 through 5, who are now three of them are number one seeds, all lost
Yeah.
in their conference championships. Um, so I love the Mortal Kombat guy, the evil guy who puts the whole tournament together, where he screams, "It has begun." It began this weekend. I expect a lot of upsets this year because I think I made the comment in one of our group chats. You don't have an Anthony Davis led Kentucky this year where it's them. You don't have Rick Pitino coach Louisville this year, and I forget the year it was. Maybe it was 13, where the boy broke his leg on the 3-point shot, but it didn't matter. They ran the table all the way through. It was 11, 12, 13, 14, something like that. But that was Pitino's Louisville team. My point is, you don't have a team that has really asserted any sort of dominance this
Right.
year, with potentially the exception of UConn. And then the argument is, well, who the hell have they played? So I watched I watched UNC lay an egg after being the best team in the ACC all year long against the Wolfies. Tennessee
Yeah, at NC
laid
State,
an
and you
egg.
got it here 5 games, 5 days, 10th
Uh,
seed, and they walked away with it.
and they've done it twice now where they're the team that has made the final from a 10 seed. They did it back in 01 or 02, and they did it in 2024. So it was the Wolfies. And like I said, they were on a momentum. But you talk about tough, Terry. You get two double buys if you're Duke and Carolina, and you
Yeah,
piss that advantage away and
right.
got beat by a team that had to play 5 days in a row. And Virginia lost, to the Wolfpack. Virginia has won a national championship. North
Don't
Carolina
remind
lost.
me.
Quality teams is
Auburn
what I'm
folks would
saying. Beat
point
them.
out that there was a double dribble that didn't get called, but we can carry
There's a double dribble that gets called that doesn't get called in every game, and don't even get me started on walking because these people think they're on the treadmill as much walking as they do, or they're in the mall with Bevy Goldberg doing the power walk in the suit and the fanny pack on.
it. So
Hmm.
UConn, you got listed here that UConn won the Big East first
Yep.
time in what 13 years, but they had left the conference and come back. So
Yeah, the
UConn got
last
the job
time
done.
the last time they won the Big East, Jim Calhoun was the coach. Simba Walker was the guard on the team. They played 11 consecutive games that were win or go home, and they won the national championship.
So after all of that, sir, Sunday night or Sunday afternoon, because I thought it was going to be night, and I started to take a nap, and I'm like, what time does the selection show come on? Oh, never mind. It comes on in 15 minutes. So I had to get my butt out of bed instead of taking a nap. And now we know what the bracket looks like.
Correct.
And I don't think the conference championship tournaments mean a whole lot. They didn't really change the seeding very much.
North Carolina was a 1 seed. Houston was a 1 seed. Purdue was a 1 seed, and UConn was a 1 seed, and those were 1 through 4. But like we said, 3 of those 4 teams took an L and did not win their conference championship.
Right.
So this may be, as you've talked about, foreshadowing for what we see in football. And we'll pin it to next week. 14 teams already approved 2026 forward in the football. So 12 wasn't enough, and they didn't even play it yet. That's what I'm saying. They haven't even got there, and we're doing 14. This
All
is
the
60,
times they played it in the head, they figured out it wasn't enough, so they're going to.
and this is 68. So the bracket, of course, is 68 because you got 4 play-in games.
Yep.
You've got the what is it? The 11 seeds and the I forget, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, a
But you've
couple of
got
10s, and do they have like the 16s and the 10s? Is that what it is?
I think
Something
it
like
is.
that.
Yeah, it's the play-in games basically. So they start with 68. They've had 4 games. The winners of those games get to advance and move on. Um, you know, we have, like we did with football, a bracket. You can find it on our social media. I think we got 25 spots. I didn't check before we got on, Terry, how many are full, but I know we've got some participation in it
Yeah.
this year. A spoiler alert, fans, I picked Nebraska to beat everybody. And I think that includes Houston, UNC. It got real ridiculous. Somehow they were, Kansas. I think they're going to beat Kansas in the tournament this year, Terry.
Hey, Auburn beat
Go
North
big.
Carolina and Kansas back to back a few years ago. So why
Yeah.
can't Nebraska, right?
Go Big Red, baby.
Exactly.
But they're going to start. They start Tuesday, then we go to Thursday. And biggest thing is for that, the producer on the fly, we're halfway there. 12 spots are available in our poll. So please join us at TNA Top 10, Facebook, Instagram, the X. We've got 12
ESPN Fantasy Games. There is an
Yep.
app.
Yep.
We've been posting the link. If I can figure out this social media thing, I'll keep posting it over the next couple of days to make sure, and I'll post it after it starts in case you want to jump in late. Why not?
Yep. And like I said, 64 start Thursday, 32 start Tuesday, Saturday rather. Remember, we have seen Purdue get bounced in the second round. Lehigh beat Duke. A 15 seed beat the 1 or 2. It was the 2 seed back several years ago when Krzyzewski was the coach. Upsets do happen in this tournament. When the Curry was it Davidson? It took Duke everything they had to take Davidson out in the tournament that year. And I think they went to the Elite Eight, if I'm not mistaken,
And we're
Terry, if
counting
not
on
the Final Four.
Stetson taking advantage of the first time they've ever been in the tournament to knock off UConn. Let's go, Stetson.
Attaboy,
I don't know
Terry.
what your mascot is, or I would throw that out there too.
Yeah, go UConn. They're gonna win. But Terry's saying that because Auburn, the SEC champion, we didn't get to that. My bad. SEC champion Auburn. But look,
we mentioned all the teams that didn't win the SEC.
Yeah, Alabama got bounced, Tennessee got bounced, Kentucky got bounced, Florida bounced 2 of those teams, ends up going and playing Auburn. That guy, but they got hurt. Their one player got seriously hurt in the Florida team, didn't he? He against Auburn. I forget what it was, but he had a bad injury. Anyway, Bruce Pearl, another SEC title. I love Bruce Pearl. The dude is a great coach. I love his intensity, but he knows when to ratchet it up and when to dial it down. He doesn't lose his shit.
And he's honest about his team in press conferences. If they're playing like crap, he'll say they're playing like crap. I mean,
yeah, exactly. But yeah, Bruce Pearl, great job getting that team. And I told you, we talked a couple weeks ago when he played Tennessee, they were at Tennessee. And Auburn was a very gamey basketball team, but they were getting beat inside out. So they try to defend the inside, and the shooters. Yeah. And then winning, and like you've said it 3 times this month, home court advantage has made all the difference. Well, in these NCAA tournaments, after the first 2 rounds, home court advantage essentially goes away. Because we
there's
always
no home court advantage anywhere right now, because basically every team that made the tournament in Alabama is going to Spokane, Washington to play their first game.
As far away as possible.
Alabama, Auburn, Samford, I don't know if UAB is going up there, but it's like I think they should all just get on the same plane.
Roll on. Exactly. Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
East, I left one of the regions out somehow in the notes. I don't know. But
The
anyway,
West. You left the West
yeah,
out.
I did. But so the East apparently, and people are saying that UConn got screwed here. Um, Probably true because they've got Iowa State, Illinois, and Auburn in the East with UConn. That's tough.
Yep. Yep. All top 10 teams too. So,
Yeah.
or top
And
15.
then, we talked about Nebraska over in the South, number 8 seed going up against Texas A&M. Uh, but they inside the South, they got Houston, Marquette, Kentucky, and Duke. And some of
Yep.
these teams are bigger names than they've actually played recently, but they're still blue bloods.
Well, I'm going to talk about Nebraska for just a minute. They are so inconsistent. They blew an 11-point lead in the semifinals of the Big Ten game against Illinois. They beat they lose the game to Illinois by 12 or 15, but they were up by 11 at half. This has been the story of the Nebraska Cornhuskers basketball team this year. They're really, really, really good at home. They're very explosive. They're fun to watch. Um, and this is the thing about them, Terry, for a tournament like this, that makes them dangerous. Inconsistency makes them a dangerous basketball team because you don't know which version you're going to get. Um, the uh, the deal with Nebraska is they drew A&M and they're going to wax that ass. God bless you, Trev Alberts. You have motivated Nebraska to the nth degree.
I hope they do.
Uh, oh,
I
buddy,
picked them to win a couple of games in my bracket. I'll just say.
all you got to do is go to my social media page. That's at 30-year fan on Twitter and see some of the retweets I've been posting from the Nebraska super fan accounts. These people are eating Trev Alberts alive in the comments over him quickly abandoning Go Big Red for whatever that call the Aggies do is. But anyway, Nebraska has to play A&M first. Their next opponent is Houston, the number 1 team in the country. But remember, the Piddly Little Huskers are the team that put Purdue down the week the top 5 lost to unranked opponents. All members of the top 5 lost to an unranked opponent earlier this season. So I've got Nebraska winning the national championship because it's my Kool-Aid. I'm delusional. And this is half of my show, and I'll do as I like. So go Big Red, Terry. That's where I'm at.
Okay, so I was kind of trying to look up. We got a little bit of info from the producer here. I left the West off, but we got Arizona, we got North Carolina, Alabama is in the West, and Baylor. Those are the big name teams over there, the top 4. Then but in the Midwest, I'm interested to see if we see Purdue against Tennessee. That's the top 2 seeds over there. I know Creighton and Kansas are over there too, but if we see Purdue against Tennessee, that should be a pretty interesting basketball game there. Maybe we'll get there. But you're thinking Purdue loses before that.
Yep. Choke artists. Always have been, always will be. Can't win the big one. So
Well, I'm excited. It's fixing to get started up. Who knows? We might.
Purdue has been a top 15 team, ranked 3 or 2nd or 1 seed. They lose inside the round of 32. And that's what I'll say they're going to do again. They're going to lose. They're not going to make it to the Elite 8. So, I don't think they make it to the Sweet 16 honestly, because Purdue rests too much on their laurels. Just my opinion.
All right. Sorry about that. Had to attend to something there on the side. So I think that's about it for basketball.
Although it's going to be
Um,
fun and we're going to have a ton of it to watch, buddy, because this is where you get the 4 screens out. Thank God this isn't TNA Top 10 basketball. Terry would have all his screens out watching TBS, TNT, what is it, CBS, and
yeah,
ESPN or whatever.
CBS is the big one. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
getting accused of affecting, just like ESPN does. They're getting accused of affecting the seating, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. But you were talking about
SEC's.
watching stuff, and we were thinking about watching stuff. And one thing that I've always liked to watch is sitcoms, but let me tell you a little story. So here's
about
what
a
I've
man
been
named
doing.
Terry.
Here's what I've been doing with this show for the last 6 months or so, or at least the last couple of months since football season's over. We'll decide what a top 10 list needs to be. And I'll go look for lists online. What are the options it needs to be? And I'll put it out for voting. And that's what I did the other night. I thought this shouldn't be that difficult. I'll just take it upon myself and I'll go look for sitcoms. Of course, I can't take the blame here. It's not my fault. I went and saw somebody else's top 50 sitcoms. And I thought, I'm not missing anything. All of the options are available. So I put it out to our friends, and immediately they start going, where's this? Where's that? Why is this not an option? This is my favorite show. And I left so much stuff out. Here's what we're going to have to do, guys. We're doing a top 10 sitcoms that Terry thought of this week. And next week, we're going to do top 10 sitcoms that Terry didn't think of. Because that's the only way to get past this. Because I left a bunch out. But like I said, I blame it on everybody else, not myself. It's not me. Can't be me.
Or the fact that there are 792 to date when you use the category sitcoms.
You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass.
That is
You're a
uncalled for.
dumbass.
That is uncalled for. Let's move on with the list.
It is stipulated that I'm a dumbass and I make an ass of myself on this show. So she was clearly directing that at you because we don't need a sound effect for me.
Okay. Number 10. The Jeffersons. You ever watch The Jeffersons, Andrew?
Maybe an episode or two, genuinely. This one's a
Yeah.
little, and it's not to be funny. I call you old, but this is for people that are slightly older than me. I was born in 85.
Pondwater must have voted for this.
He put it number one, clearly. Now I know the Moving On Up, and I know some of the references and that sort of thing.
Good.
And I know it paired with Archie Bunker, right?
Mhm.
Do I have that right?
Yeah.
That it was with Edith and Archie.
It was a spinoff, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I get that part of it, but I'm not a viewer, so you're gonna have to tell me what was great about the Jeffersons, other than the few
it was
segments I've
good.
seen.
He was an angry guy, and he had a neighbor that he called Honky all the time. So that was pretty funny in the 70s.
Yeah.
Number 9, Scrubs. You ever watch Scrubs, Andrew? One of my favorites.
Have I ever watched Scrubs? Newbie, please listen here, Priscilla. No, greatest bromance in television history is JD and Turk. There is no bromance better than those two doctors. I love Dr. Cox, as you might imagine.
Best character on the show.
Bob Kelso. Guess who has 2 thumbs and doesn't give a shit? Would
Kelso.
You imagine that has probably come out of my mouth once or twice? I know y'all love hell.
Once or twice a week.
Here is my objection to Scrubs right now as it sits. 9 appears to be just a little too low because I know where I put them, and they were top 5, homie.
Well, you got to remember, this is not only number 9. This is number 9 of 10 plus who knows how many, right? This is not just number 9. But I love Scrubs. It was unfortunate, though, that it suffered cancellation after the writer's strike.
The writer's
changed to a different network, and it was a different feel, and it just wasn't as good, and it went away. It's one of those shows you never know what would have happened had the writer's strike not happened.
I want to say it's the first 6 or 7 or 8 seasons. I think I've got that right, Terry, where they were solid. And then you had the writer's strike, then you had the network change. And then, if I may, it was like they needed to take it out to the pasture and shoot the horse. I mean, they just needed to find a way to put it out of its misery there at the end.
When they started having like the interns or whatever that came in, the younger people, they were okay, but it was just a different show at that point.
Yeah, and one thing that I love, and Allison can attest to this, because I do the Bob Kelso line, need a Bahama mama, a lot more Bahama and a lot less mama. But so many good one-liners came out of Scrubs. Obviously, a lot of good messaging, that sort of stuff. It wasn't all about just medical. And that was the other thing, because there's so many medical shows. If you've got Chicago Med, Grey's Anatomy, I just lost one, the Resident. I mean, you could start rattling off the one with the Good Doctor, you start rattling. That's a top 10 right there. Top 10 medical shows 1960 forward. There you go, Terry. We got another top 10 topic. Allison, write it down, because I
Number
won't.
8,
Okay.
Will and Grace,
All right.
which I watched
I'm good with that.
some. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going to have more on this later because I marked this one knowing what's above, because here's a little bit of making of the sausage. Somebody's got to put the graphics together. So
Yep.
far, that's been me. So these are not a
Yep.
surprise to me. They are a surprise to Andrew. We kind of try to at least have one of us that's surprised. But I've got a note on Will and Grace that we'll talk about later. I do like Will and Grace. I mean, there's some really good
Love Will and
characters in there.
love Will and Grace, the snarky woman. She makes me laugh. Of course, this is a couple. They're
Jack.
gay, whatever. And they were really the first where you saw that be the prominent role and not a background role. So, a lot of fun. Another series. I've seen Scrubs forward to back, backward, forward to back, probably 4 or 5 times through.
Right.
Have never watched Will and Grace end to end. Have never watched the Jeffersons end to end. So this may be giving me something to watch, as you wind your day down, turn some nonsense on the TV. So anyway,
Number 7,
Roseanne. There we go.
Roseanne, which is kind of a different show than everything else because they showed a house like you would expect to actually live in. And that's
Yep.
not what you normally see in sitcoms.
Yeah, and then of course you had the Roseanne and Dan and
They're both overweight.
yeah,
They both have kids that get in trouble a lot.
yeah, and you had
Fights.
Becky in trouble with the boyfriend all the time.
Well,
and,
we got 2 different Beckys also, right? The one in the picture here is the original and number 3, but we've already talked about Sarah Chalk in Scrubs. She got her
Yep.
start here.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course DJ, as he got older, got into trouble. Darlene. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody had a Darlene as a sibling. It seems, at least I did. I know exactly which one of the 3 sisters was Darlene. But you're right. Blue collar, hardworking, snarky, funny. She works in the diner. I forget what Dan did because it's been so
He
long
did a
since
lot of
I've seen
different
it.
things. I don't
Yeah.
remember what he did at first, but I know that he ended up opening up a motorcycle shop at one point.
Yeah,
Maybe
and then they
did
both
some
lose
other
weight.
stuff. Yeah.
And then the way they wrap the show up, where she's dreaming that he's alive, but he's not alive. The
right.
whole.
And they won the lottery and all. That last season was bizarre.
It was way out there, but they didn't know how to tie it up. And that's
Right.
the one thing that you see with dramas, you see with comedies, you see with a lot of different shows. They don't necessarily know how to tie the story up and end it. I mean, I thought Roseanne was fine. Now, it might be one of those shows that I was a kid when I go back and watch it and I'll pick up a lot more funnier, subtle things,
Yeah.
that were not so obvious back then when you're a child, because I think were they a Tuesday night show? They weren't part of the TGIF lineup, were
Oh,
they?
yeah. I don't know what night it was.
Yeah, because
Well,
the
you're asking for
TGIF.
a lot for me to remember which
Well, buddy,
night I
we
was
had
watching
at my house
Roseanne.
it was like Full House, Family Matters, something and it was TGIF. It came on Nickelodeon.
Perfect Strangers. Yeah.
Yeah, channel 38 and on the cable provider anyway. See, I can remember stuff. Anyway,
Well, TGIF, I remember it. All the other nights of the week. I guess Seinfeld and Friends and stuff was on Thursday.
yeah, because it was hard to compete against Friends and Seinfeld and was it ER that tried to compete against them as a drama at one
I
point,
think
or were
it
they on the
was.
same
I think
network?
it was.
Yeah.
Well, we
Anyway.
better quit talking about other shows. We might be anticipating something. Number 6, Schitt's Creek.
Y'all fired. Absolutely, positively fired. Schitt's Creek is not number 1, but it is 1B. Yeah, absolutely
What
fired.
an idiot. What an idiot. Idiot. Oh, what an idiot.
The
So I
producer
guess
agrees
that's the
with me.
producer's response to that being number.
Yeah, so Schitt's Creek, obviously wealthy family, accountant hasn't been paying taxes. As a rib, the dad bought this little town called Schitt's Creek, and that's all they were able to have left. And it's Johnny and Moira and David and oh, I just went blank on the sister's name.
I'm no help to you. I mean, I've seen a lot of the reels and
Oh,
I like those. I've maybe watched
I
2
know
episodes.
Alexis. Thank
Alexis.
you, producer Alexis Rose. And I should know that. That's my bad. Lots of characters, lots of things. It's 23 minutes or 30-minute show. It was on Pop TV. Won several awards. Even Eugene Levy and we'll get to this a little bit later. But Eugene Levy and Daniel Levy, father and son, and the daughter is the restaurant owner in the show. So the three of them work on the show together, but Eugene and Daniel are the actual executive producers, writers, creators of the show. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of just different entertainment. And I'll get to something that came out in the show, but um, just different relationships, the way they deal with each other. Really good entertainment, not necessarily clean. David
Not
likes to say what in the
necessarily.
actual
Not
fuck, and I
clean.
think it's hilarious.
I like how you said not necessarily. It could be, but it's not necessarily. No, it's not clean.
Anybody who has ever gotten a text message from me has probably been responded to with a David Rose gif.
Of course.
Anybody. I mean, my bosses, my friends, my family. I love David. I channel David. Okay, I'm that sassy about things.
Even
But
the baseball.
even the baseball came from Schitt's Creek. So him and Patrick in season 4. But anyway, it went 6 seasons. Great show, fun show, adult show. Not something to probably watch with the children. It's not a real gritty and dirty and violent and sexy. It's language, it's content.
Right.
But anyway, these days they can watch it on YouTube anyhow, meaning that sort of thing, not necessarily the show. But
What?
great show. I love it. Terry needs to watch it.
I need to watch more of it. I need to catch up on that.
Yeah.
Number 5. Number 5.
The Office. There you go.
And
There
this
you
is
go.
the first show, and you can't see it unless I'm going to move my camera. I'm going to try to search for something on my wall. Moving the camera. Moving the camera. Whoa. And you kind of see it over there. I've got some Office guys up here. The Office. I've got Dwight, Michael, Pam, and Jim. Now let me correct this back so you can see me again. Thought I would show you that. But, wow, let's not do that ever again. That was a mistake. We may do it for these, but we'll see. The Office. Did you watch much of The Office? Because I love The Office, and I know the producer loves The Office.
So the producer can quote The Office. And probably could tell you watching 2 minutes what episode each one came out of and what it was about. I'm not that person. Most of my Office exposure has been on Comedy Central and not in order, or
Yeah.
At the on the reels and the Instagram and the fun stuff, watching the. Now I will watch them. I don't skip them. I think they're hilarious. The bald guy on the right, he makes me laugh because he is so.
Kevin.
Oh, yeah, he is horrible. And then I
He's
like
great.
Jim. I like Jim, of course.
Mhm.
Hard not to like Michael. You know his character that he plays, what a shitbag.
Stanley is excellent.
Yeah,
You
Stanley.
just got meatball.
I
That's
love
great.
Stanley. I just watched one on the
Producer saying Robert California.
I
Robert
just watched.
California is horrible.
I was at the gym
Horrible.
and James. I didn't know James Spader was on this show.
Yeah, he's Robert California.
Okay, that's Robert Cal. Okay, so at the gym, nobody criticized me because that was funny.
Yeah.
But at the gym, they don't put the volume on, so you can't hear
Right.
the joke. So but I saw it was James Spader with hair before he was Red Reddington, and I'm like, that's fucking James Spader. That's Voltron right there, you know, because he plays Voltron in the Transformers. It's his voice.
Yeah, he came after Steve Carell left.
Oh,
and
okay.
They were trying to see who would be the next boss. And they went through several. Will Ferrell did it for a little while. And that was okay. Andy, character Andy, who I don't think's in this picture. This was an early picture. Andy was the boss a little bit. There was this guy Charles, which is what is that? Idris Elba. I don't know how to say
Idris
that.
Elba, yeah,
That
he's a
guy,
great
yeah.
actor.
So he was the boss. And then they settled on the lady Kathy Bates was the CEO. They got bought out, and she was on there. And then Robert California came and talked her out of her own job. So
Well, Robert California, the episode I saw, and Allison will remember this, and you might too. He has him over at his house apparently, and all of a sudden they're going skinny dipping, and he
oh
strips down
yeah,
and he jumps in the pool, and Jim takes off, and the other two clowns jump in the pool with him, and then there's this whole "why did you run away" etc. thing going on. Um, but it was funny to me with the whole pool incident. But like I said, I had never seen him, and so it's a replay on Comedy Central,
yeah.
and James Spader is the main character.
Yeah, that was good. It's one of my favorites. How it ended up number 5 out of an incomplete list. It's like, what's in the top 4 here? I mean,
Yeah,
I did not include all the options. Number 4 is Seinfeld.
good show. Not I've
It is a good show.
never seen every episode though.
I
But
think
you
I
all
probably have.
you've all heard me quote Mr. Costanza there. Doesn't matter if it's true as long as I believe it. So go Yankees.
Yeah, I was going to point that out. Costanza works for the Yankees, and the way he got that job was that he said, I'm going to do every instinct I have, I'm going to do the opposite. So he's going for an interview with the Yankees, and there's Steinbrenner there. And he said, what's the worst thing I can do? So he just lets Steinbrenner have it about all the trades and how he's screwing up the great Yankees organization. And Steinbrenner loves it, and he hires him on the spot. It was fantastic.
That is awesome. But yeah, I haven't seen every episode of it. But again, it's things I've seen in clips and segments. And it's just some of this is a function of age. Other is a function of we didn't have cable television when I was a kid. So, and I've just never watched it. So I know you can watch Seinfeld all the time. You can find Seinfeld
Oh, it's
anywhere,
on
you
all the
know.
time, syndicated
So
everywhere.
TV, internet, Hulu, whatever. You know what I mean? You could watch Seinfeld
Yeah.
anywhere. So
Number 3,
Friends.
Friends. The
I've
other
seen a lot of
Thursday night
these.
show.
I'll be there for you. I mean, the show that made the song famous. The song didn't
Oh,
make the
man.
show famous, I promise you. But
And
what a
I was getting an
cast!
eye full of Jennifer Aniston every time I
I
watched
was going to
it.
say Jennifer Aniston, David Schwimmer, Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, Matthew Perry, and I forget who played Joey. I always forget who played Joey.
Oh, you had to say that, didn't you?
Yeah,
Come on, producer.
I just forgot
Somebody's
who played
screaming at
Joey.
the radio, screaming at their phone right now because
Oh
they
yeah,
know
yelling
Matt
at us,
LeBlanc.
Matt
Matt
LeBlanc. Yeah.
There we go.
So anyway, I mean, look, that was pretty good, Terry. I ain't seen every episode, and I just rattled them all off. I did just recently see the Vegas wedding episode, where they want to get married. Rachel gets married to Schwimmer. Aniston and Schwimmer get
Ross, yeah.
married. Yeah, and they got the just married written on the back of his head. So, but I haven't seen every episode. But the stuff I've seen, it's funny. It's not like there's anything wrong with it. It's just again fell in that wheelhouse. We didn't have cable at the time. Didn't have television to watch it. So
Number 2,
it is what it is.
Cheers. And I'm just going to tell you, Cheers is what's on this other shelf, but I'm not moving the camera.
Cheers did not. I don't believe Cheers required cable. I think we could get that one with the antenna because I remember Cheers. I remember when they brought in Woody Harrelson. I remember when Coach died. I remember Dan. And of course they had Diane, and then they brought in Kirstie Alley.
Rebecca, yeah.
Yeah, Norm. Hey, Norm,
you know what's funny with
Cliff goes on Jeopardy and loses.
Oh, that was great. Who are 3 men who have never been in my kitchen?
Yeah.
Well, they've never been in my kitchen. Yeah. So when I was in college, this was before Netflix. You couldn't binge watch stuff. My roommate and I would watch an episode of Cheers every night on Nick at Night, and they went back to back through the whole series, and we kept watching the whole time we were in college, and we hated Diane at that point. We were so ready for Rebecca to show up. But then when I've watched it in later years, I love Diane. Completely love her character. And I don't know what it was about it back then. I hated her being on the show, but I love her now. One thing that I'm really bothered about when I got these Cheers Funko Pops, there was no Carla. How can you not have a Carla? What the
Yeah, 'cause
crap?
she was
That's
through the whole.
great.
She was with the whole run, wasn't she? Almost the
Yeah.
whole run, anyway. Yeah, because that's Danny
Central
DeVito's
character.
wife. Yeah.
Yeah. I love Cheers. Excellent. Excellent. And then they're holding beers and everything. I'm not moving the camera, I promise. But anyway.
The number one show, you know which one it is. I know which one it is.
Number one, the Golden Girls. And you can't beat the Golden Girls.
Nope, nope. You talk about a show that was clever, smart, cheeky. I mean, you've got the perfect combination of these four women. They all end up living together. Betty White, the airhead, the idiot, B. Arthur, the jerk friend that just tells it like it is. Her mother, who's kind of both, is Sophia, and then of course everybody's favorite, Blanche.
No,
I
not
love
everybody's favorite. Not
me some
everybody's
Blanche.
favorite, sir.
Well, you're not even Dorothy, are you? Or no, you're
That's
not Rose. Yeah, you're
Dorothy,
Rose.
that's Rose.
You're not even Rose.
See,
That's my bad.
I wanted to take that when I went to Dynamite and I was on the front row. Dynamite. When I went to Dynamite and I was on the front row, I studied the sign rules for AEW, and they will not let you have signs that are not wrestling related in there. I was going to have Betty White's big face on the TV. It's unfortunate I didn't get to do it. I didn't want to lose Betty. I didn't want to have to drop her off right before I went in the arena.
Well, this is what I will say. This is what I will say about this. You will never again find four female actresses with the stage presence, ability, vocals, talent, and chemistry of Rue McClanahan, Estelle Getty, Bea Arthur, and Betty White. This is the perfect sitcom. The perfect sitcom. I just sent you guys a reel not too long ago about where Sophia has to bail him out of jail because they get arrested for prostitution. And she said, "Who the hell thinks you're hookers?" But you go back and watch it. I watched this show with my grandmother and my mother, so I'm a child. You don't get half of the jokes, like half of them, but you laugh because your mom and grandma are laughing, so you think shit's funny. You go back and watch. These are some dirty women, and this is my kind of thing, right? They call Rue McClanahan they call her a slut, Blanche a slut, all the time. That was in the 80s and 90s, and they've got them openly calling Blanche a slut, making fun of how dumb Betty White is, what a ball buster Dorothy is, and of course there's Sophia talking about how her boobs hang down to her stomach and everything else, and but you wouldn't say. I don't think you could make this show in 2024. I 100%, you can't find the talent available to make this show. This was serendipitous that these four actresses were be able to come together. I love the Golden Girls. I don't know, everybody knows. All my friends know. I love the Golden Girls and definitely voted this number one. Although I don't even think it's a debate if this show's better than the other 9 we talked about, because it is the perfect sitcom, in my opinion.
That wraps up our top 10. Running them down: the Jefferson, Scrubs, Will and Grace, Roseanne, Schitt's Creek, The Office, Seinfeld, Friends, Cheers, and the Golden Girls. That's the first list, because I'm sure you're thinking of something that I left out.
Yep, and we certainly will revisit that, and we will go ahead and take care of it. So not a problem at all.
We will. So that's one thing we do every week. Why don't we talk about the other thing we do every week, sir? Why don't you take the lead here?
Champ of the Week time. My boy from Schitt's Creek, Mr. Daniel Levy, son of I just lost his name.
Eugene.
Levy. Eugene. He just got his star on the Hollywood
About
Walk of
time.
About Damn Time. Speaking of cancel culture, American Pie never be made. Eugene Levy was the star of that series. They'd never make American Pie in 2024. First dirty movie I ever saw because of, again, my age. Probably my generation's Porky's when you think about American Pie and what it did. So his father obviously was the dad in that. But Daniel Levy is, of course, David Rose in Schitt's Creek. He's our champ of the week. He's a writer, actor, and producer. And the thing he's noted for in Schitt's Creek is the attention paid to the LGBT community. Schitt's Creek stars David, and he is not gay, not straight, not bisexual, as he tells his best friend Stevie after they slept together the night before and they're shopping for wine. She says, "Well, I'm a red wine drinker and I only drink wine. And up until last night, I thought you were also a red wine drinker." And he says, "Oh, I get what you're saying." He says, "I do like red wine." He said, "I also like white wine and the occasional rosé and sometimes the Merlot." And then there was this Ciroc they got, and he says, "It's more about the wine than the label." And that is what got him so much notoriety from the LGBT community in Schitt's Creek. Is it wasn't an upfront thing where they're forcing the quote gay agenda down anybody's throats. It was very subtle. It was very respectful. The way David and Patrick's interaction began and continued and ended in the series finale. And I don't want to spoil it for you, Terry, because you haven't seen the
I'm
show.
2 episodes in.
Yeah, right. Keep watching. The first couple episodes are hard, but once you get past the first season, you won't
Okay.
ever put the show down. It's one of those. But the LGBT community, a group of moms sent him a letter after the show was made. Post production, they're talking about the show. The letter brings everybody to tears. You can Google it. Schitt's Creek LGBT letter from the Moms Council, the Parents Council. People whose children are gay, lesbians, queer, trans, whatever the adjective you want to use. And they were so grateful because somehow Daniel Levy has found his art in his movies, his acting, to address real issues. His next show he did, Good Grief, is a Netflix movie, and his signature in this is that his art is a cathartic way to deal with grief. So in the movie, he is a gay man, his partner suddenly dies, and he has to navigate grief. As somebody whose father died 4 weeks ago, grief to me is the ocean. Sometimes it's calm, sometimes you get some nice pretty waves, sometimes you've got the 30-foot boat rockers, and it'll come out of nowhere. Don't turn your back on it, because the next thing you know, you'll be paralyzed by it. But Good Grief walks the story through of how a man deals with grief after his partner has died. And the thing that we love about Daniel Levy is there are people in this world that have an empathetic heart and soul, even in a world that sucks the way ours does, where you can turn the TV on and hear about war and famine and genocide. And don't want to use the word Holocaust because there was only one of those, but well, I guess genocide, I got it right. You know, you're wiping out a one group of peoples. We've got political corruption, you've got taxes, you've got inflation, you've got all of this stuff. In a world we choose to be cynical, myself included, people like Daniel Levy choose to use their art for the betterment of our society and to make the people that see their art have a good day, have a genuine cathartic moment. And that is why he is our champ of the week.
Thank you, Andrew. I didn't know much of that at all. Like I said, I haven't watched the show. I didn't know the story. I didn't know the background there. And you are correct about people touching the world in positive ways. And, we on a weekly basis like to put out information about these people that are touching the world in a positive way. And I thank you for running that down for us this week. We're getting close to the end here, sir. You got any deep thoughts to end us with? I'll do my regular wrap up, but I want to give you one more opportunity.
Are we on time?
I don't know. I don't know
Okay.
what time it is. We got a producer now. It's not my job to figure that out.
We have done the producer says absolutely 10 minutes to go. So we and genuinely, folks, this is just a peek behind the curtain, as everybody likes to say. We knew speaking 2 hours about X and O's and footballs isn't for everybody. Okay, we get that. We're gonna get back to football because we know pop culture, social, whatever isn't for everybody either. But we are going to try to be that blend for everybody, which is what our network that Terry's about to tell you all is about as well, is something for everybody. And that's what Team Ramrod, Pop and Lock, I like those names better than just Team Ram. The Pop and Lock Network is what we should have gone with. But Terry's going to tell you about wrestling and more.
It's not wrestling.
I said wrestling this week. Damn it. It's
wrestling and more.
Wrestling
because
and
we've
more.
got one podcast called Talking Wrestling. I'm not sure why it's not Talking Wrestling. That one, anyway. Talking Wrestling with Pondwater Dave and our buddies at Filter Free Popcast, and we are called Wrestling and More. And this is something that's going to start up on Patreon in April. I've explained before that we are going to do the same thing that we've always done. We're a little bit different now that we got the producer, so she's keeping us on track. But you're going to hear us the same way. You're going to watch us the same way. We're going to do some more things. We're going to blend ideas. There's been great ideas thrown out there. I can't wait to see some of this happen. We should go live sometime in April. And we'll give you the info as it comes. And coming up this week, we want to give you a weekly update on the other shows. Filter Free Popcast, their audio pretty much drops the same day our audio drops on Tuesdays. They're going to do a SmackDown episode from 2010. That was before WrestleMania. It's going to be guest hosted by Amy. And what do we call her, Andrew?
The first lady of the Arn Anderson fan club. I named her. We will always call her that. That's the way it is.
So that's going to close the month down for them. That was right before WrestleMania in 2010. There was an Iron Man match from Mania 12 that FFP is going to talk about there.
Not to interject, Terry, we were invited and we may participate, we may not. Again, this is all peek behind the curtain. Hopefully we can. We can do the watch along with the group.
I misunderstood the note. I'm sorry. Go ahead, explain it.
For WrestleMania 12. So this is one of those collaborative effort things we're trying. And I think everybody just wants to make us watch an hour-long match between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Like this is a rib.
And I've stated I don't like either one of
them. But bottom line is, it sounds like that's what they want to do. But this is going to be that's going to be their go-home show for the month of March. Is they're watching Mania 12. The night did feature Undertaker versus Diesel. You have Piper Goldust, and of course you've got the Iron Man match, Anaheim, California, 1996. So it'll be a lot of fun. TJ and Tim and Dave, of course, do a great job over there. And then the next one, tomorrow night, the guest host, Amy, back on her show, Talking Wrestling.
That's right. They are going to have, and you guys might have seen this guy on TikTok, the professor, his name's Nick
Harrison.
Nick Harrison, the professor Nick Harrison. He's going to be on there, and this is a fantastic guest. I can't wait. We always, if you've never been to that show, if you're a wrestling fan at all, even a little bit, find Talking Wrestling with Pondwater Dave. They have really entertaining guests who are mostly in the independent wrestling scene. Sometimes they'll have other guests, but it's always really fun. You can go be in the audience and watch them live, and that's what's going to be happening tomorrow night. We did skip over one thing, and we keep talking about a bunch of different stuff Amy's doing, but Amy and TJ, back with the FFP network, or the FFP crew, they're going to start a book club as part of the Wrestling and More network, and the first guest is going to be Brian Solomon. And they're going to talk to him about one of his books. Like I said, there's tons of ideas coming around through this network. I'll know a little bit more about it when I talk about it next time. Fumbling over the
No,
notes
it's
here,
fine.
but
Yeah,
we
Solomon's book is on the Sheik, not the Iron Sheik, not Sheiky Baby, but
Sheik.
the original Sheik, Edward Fairhat, who happened to be the trainer of Sabu and Rob Van Dam. For the more modern listener, Blood, Guts, Violence, Detroit, the Iron Sheik, or the Sheik, excuse me, should be a really fun listen to as they walk through his book and do like a semi book club that they both read the book with.
But that's a couple of weeks away from the Patreon starting up in April. WrestleMania is coming up. It's going to be a big moment to transition into that. And, as always, Andrew, it's been fun. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thanks to the producer. As always, as I always say, love your people. Tell them you love them. Make it weird. See you guys next time. Have a great week. Thank you for listening. We are TNA Top 10 on all social media. I'm TWeave79. He's 30-year fan. We're available weekly where you get your podcasts. Like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.